Bracky's Game Jam, one of the biggest game jams in the world. Thousands of entries every 4 months from the biggest creators. And now, it's my turn. Wow, these themes suck.
The theme for VimJam 3 is Turn Up the Heat.
Turn up the heat? Yeah, that'll do. So for this game jam, you've got to make a game with some kind of multi-use feature, whilst also sticking to the theme. So naturally the first thing I did was create this island made of ice, because who has time for planning? It's just a beta move and slows you down. I've only got 10 days to finish this game jam before I have to submit it, so time management will be really important. I then added this slippery little dude as the protagonist and made him run around with his entire 2 frames of run animation. AAA games have normalised these complicated and over-the-top run animations. I say bring it back to the Pac-Man days, where you only needed 2 sprites. It looks just as polished and it's more optimal, so get on it, Nintendo. Anyway, I've kind of run out of ideas now, and I don't think I can get first place in the jam with just this. So I think I need a plan. Alright, it's 3 days later and I've returned from the beta corner with an idea. Basically, the player has this multi-use rechargeable battery, which they can charge in the 2 multi-use solar panels found at the top of the island. If you think about it, solar panels are just plants, because they both use sun power, so surely leaves are able to power things. I'm gonna go test that theory. Hey, that's some renewable energy for you. They should install power sockets in the trunks of trees. Maybe that's how Mr. Beast has so much money. He sells the electricity he's made from his tree farm. Team Trees had this big front of helping the planet, but in reality it was just Mr. Beast expanding his empire. Squid Game powered by trees. So once the battery's been charged, you can put it in this heater, which creates a circle of heat. But I know what you're thinking. Won't the heat melt the ice beneath it? Well, that normally would be the case, but this isn't your standard hot air. It's been disciplined so that it floats just above the ice, but never touches it. If it were to slip down, I'd quickly jump in and push it to the ground, spit on its face, give it a few kicks for good measure, and it won't want to make that mistake again. I implemented the logic for the battery with a bunch of booleans that determined whether the player has the battery or not, so it's kind of like a multiple choice quiz, except there are 3 questions and only 2 options for each question, and yet somehow I kept getting the answers wrong. What? It spat the battery back out, until I finally got it to work 3 hours later. Okay, I go up to the heater, and yeah, it does its thing. And there we go! I get the battery back when it's done. Now let's give the heater an actual job by giving the player something to melt. So this game's enemies are going to be snowmen that try and push you into the water, and you have to melt them before you drown. The first snowman, weighing in at 300 kilos, is Louis Big Balls Patooey. He's the first guy you're going to encounter, with pretty much average stats, so a good introduction enemy for the game. Next up we have Speedy Gonzalez. Despite the fact that he's got those little baby stick legs, he's surprisingly fast. In fact, he's the fastest snowman in our roster. You'll want to make sure you don't get caught up in his Smash 4 Bayonetta style combos, because they can be deadly.
Happy feet, one more combo. That ain't Falco. That ain't Falco.
Our next snowman is wanted on multiple accounts of tax evasion. It is, of course, Mr. Mucho Gusto. This big slug boy may be the slowest, but he's got enough power to knock you off the mortal plane. He's also the smartest snowman, so watch out for a surprise attack from behind. And finally we have Fiona, cousin of the Rolling Stone. With a weight of 22 Great British pounds, she's the lightest but also very agile, so don't go near the edge when she's onto you. That's all for this lineup, now back to the actual game. Here are the snowmen in the world. I really like how they move, however they can't hit you yet, and even if they could, you can't lose, so I'm gonna go get that done. I've set up this scene with 2 of the most basic snowmen, and I'm thinking this is gonna be the first level out of 7. As you can see, the snowmen can now hit you into the water and you'll drown, which will then cause a fade to black, taking you to this death screen that I made, showing you some stats for how well you've done. It then takes you back to the main menu to try the game all over again, because I don't want players to have a good experience. I want them to have to restart every single time they die and lose all of their progress. Similarly to how I had to restart Pokemon Heart Gold after I beat the first gym leader because I needed to get the egg from this buffoon, but my party was full with unknowns for some reason, and I didn't know that the PC existed. So I had to restart the game, but then I couldn't save the game afterwards because I lost the manual the game came with, which told you how to clear save data. So instead I had to start again every time I wanted to play the game. Not that I'm still upset by it, no, there's other reasons why you have to start over when you die. Actually, in the lore, but if you do manage to charge the battery and melt all the snowmen, it'll fade to white and you move on to the next level. I said, you'll move on to the next level. Oh yeah, gotta make it first. Now that that's done, I'm gonna add some sound effects because this is boring, whereas this is slightly less boring, and that's what counts. Now whilst I try to beat day 4, you can have a go at beating this game by clicking the first link in the description, but be warned, there's no promise that it will actually function as intended. The best I can give you is a there may be bugs guarantee, just like how you may win $1 million if you subscribe in the next 10 seconds. No, I'm serious, press the button. But now I think it's time I address the controversy that's been plaguing this game. I have made a severe and continuous lapse in my judgment. I'm so sorry that you thought this was the best game out of literal hundreds. If you want to see the actual best game of all time, then go watch this after. I will try my best to make it up to you, but please remember that us lizard people have feelings too. Isn't that right, Big Suck? Personally, I was so mortified when I read this comment. I had to lock myself in my basement for 2 weeks, with only 4 seasons of Attack on Titan and the 3 builders I invited round for tea and crumpets. They weren't too pleased. But don't worry, PlaySap. I'm gonna make things right. So my idea is to make the final level, day 7, just awful. You need to have the worst experience imaginable, no fun allowed. First of all, here's 24 snowmen that are all going to be coming after you, and I've made each of them 5 times faster than normal, and half of them are penguins, so you can't melt them. So the only way to kill them is by making a knife out of your own teeth, and the battery explodes if you hold it for too long, and you can only play the last level if you've just jumped out of a plane, at night, you've got a law degree, and your fingers are worms, you've watched the Mario movie trailer specifically 8 times, and your name is Sarah. But now time is up, and I've submitted the game. If you like this video, then I've got one coming soon that you're going to enjoy, so if you haven't already, please subscribe. Of course, I can't give you any spoilers here, but I can't say the same about the post-credit scene. It's like the Wild West out there, so if you want to stick around a few extra seconds, you might find something.